Most people are ready to throw their dreams, goals, wishes, hopes right out the window at the first sign of opposition. We're reading the chapter on persistence from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This is chapter 9 entitled Persistence. We're going to read this whole thing this week. Chapter 9, Persistence, the sustained effort necessary to induce faith, the eighth step toward riches. Persistence is an essential factor in the procedure of transmuting desire into its monetary equivalent. The basis of persistence is the power of will. Willpower and desire, when properly combined, make an irresistible pair. Men who accumulate great fortunes are generally known as cold-blooded and sometimes ruthless. Often they are misunderstood. What they have is willpower, which they mix with persistence and place back of their desires to ensure the attainment of their objectives. A lot of times we can see people who are driven, who are goal-oriented, who are going after big dreams and goals. I personally feel this in my own life. People sometimes say, wow, you're doing a lot. Wow, you're doing too much. You're just materialistic. It's just relax. Just relax. Life isn't about attaining. It's like, but I must do that. For me, I must do that. And it is not about the attaining. It's about the process of me getting there. Who do I have to be? How do I have to grow to become and stretch and really push myself to a new level? That's what it's about. Goals are not to get, goals are to grow. Goals are not to get and to achieve. They're for growth. They're for the process, falling in love with the process. For me, that has rang so true. So people who accumulate really great fortunes or achieve high goals might often be misunderstood as cold-blooded and ruthless. People talk about Kobe Bryant, his practice regimen. It's, oh, that's extra, but nobody has achieved what he has achieved. It's this different mentality, and people will judge it, but it's so worth it. Henry Ford, this was written in the days of when Henry Ford was making cars. Henry Ford has been generally misunderstood to be ruthless and cold-blooded. This misconception grew out of Ford's habit of following through on all of his plans with persistence. The majority of people who are ready to throw their aims and purposes overboard The majority of people are ready to throw their aims and purposes overboard and give up at the first sign of opposition or misfortune. How many times are you going after a goal or a dream and the first sign of things not working out, or the money not coming through, or somebody not wanting to carry on with the project, they were a partner or an investor, or something happens in life, you lose a sale or you get a flat tire, and you take that as a sign, well, I guess it's just not meant to be. It's just not working out. So it's a sign that this is not the right path for me. The universe is telling me that this is the wrong direction, or I'm just being willful. I'm being selfish, or I'm wanting something that isn't in the stars or isn't in the fate or destiny for me. That's what happens a lot of the times. Well, at least I can speak from experience. When I'm going after something really big and there's a little opposition, right away I get this sinking gut feeling. I know it now, but it's just like, oh, maybe this is a sign that I shouldn't be doing this. Persist, persist, persist. Not a lot of people are persistent. And when they are, that's what Napoleon Hill is saying, that a lot of people think that they're just ruthless and they're bulls just moving everything out of the way. But if we really want to go down that path, we must move things out of our way. And if people are uncomfortable with that, usually it's because they're not doing it themselves and you're making them feel uncomfortable. You're very sure-footed and focused on where you're going, and that's not common. People don't follow through a lot of the times. They're all talk, talk, talk. But when you start taking the action and walking the walk, all of a sudden, people seem to get a little uncomfortable with that. A few carry on. Most people give up at the first sign of opposition. A few carry on despite all opposition until they attain their goal. These few are the Fords, Carnegies, Rockefellers, and Edisons. There may be no heroic connotation to the word persistence, but the quality is to the character of man what carbon is to steel. The building of a fortune generally involves the application of the entire 13 factors of this philosophy in this book. These principles must be understood. They must be applied with persistence by all who accumulate money. If you are following this book with the intention of applying the knowledge it conveys, your first test as to your persistence will come when you begin to follow the 6 steps described in the second chapter. Unless you are one of the 2 out of every 100 who already have a definite goal at which you are aiming and a definite plan for its attainment, you may read the instructions and then pass on with your daily routine and never comply with those instructions. The author is checking up at this point because lack of persistence is one of the major causes of failure. Moreover, experience with thousands of people has proven that lack of persistence is a weakness common to the majority of men. It is a weakness which may be overcome by effort. The ease with which lack of persistence may be conquered will depend entirely upon the intensity of one's desire. That's why it's so important to pick a desire, a burning desire of your heart of hearts. What do you want in life? What desire has been knocking at your door since you were really young? It's stayed with you for weeks, for months, for years, for decades. What is a burning desire that you have in your heart? Something you always have wanted. You want to attain, you want to grow into, you want to accomplish, you want to arrive. What area of your life? Is it a physical goal? Is it a weight? Is it a muscle mass? Is it a financial goal? Is it freedom? Is it to get out of debt, buy a house, a new car, go on a trip? Is it a relationship goal, to be in a healthy, happy relationship, to get married, to have children, with or without marriage, to have children? And lastly, what is my other category? Career. Is there a career? Is there a job? Is there a calling, a vocation, a hobby? You can keep your 9 to 5, but is there a hobby you want to be a weekend warrior with? What have you always wanted to do? Open up a little business, open up an Etsy shop, write a book, poems, go to spoken word events, and share what you write once a week. What is a goal? What is a desire that you've had always? Start putting logs on that fire and get it so big that it's like it's a fire under your belly, so to speak. It's a fire on your ass. It keeps you moving. It keeps you going. It keeps you persistent no matter what comes in your way. The ease with which lack of persistence may be conquered will depend entirely upon the intensity of one's desire. That's why we have to make that a huge bonfire of burning desire with whatever we want to achieve. The starting point of all achievement is desire. The starting point of all achievement is desire. Keep this constantly in mind. Weak desires bring weak results, just as a small amount of fire makes a small amount of heat. If you find yourself lacking in persistence, this weakness may be remedied by building a stronger fire under your desires. Let's read that again. The starting point of all achievement is desire. Keep this constantly in mind. Weak desires bring weak results, just as a small amount of fire makes a small amount of heat. If you find yourself lacking in persistence, the weakness may be remedied by building a stronger fire under your desires. Continue to read through to the end, then go back to chapter 2 and start immediately to carry out the instructions given in connection with the 6 steps. The 6 steps. The eagerness with which you follow these instructions will indicate clearly how much or how little you really desire to accumulate money or whatever goal you're going after. If you find that you are indifferent, you may be sure that you have not yet acquired the money consciousness or the desire needed, which you must possess before you can be sure of accumulating a fortune or achieving your goal. Fortunes gravitate to men whose minds have been prepared to attract them, just as sure as water gravitates to the ocean. In this book may be found all the stimuli necessary to attune any normal mind to the vibrations which will attract the object of one's desire. Remember, every single thought is a seed, and every seed thought vibrates at a certain level, either very low, dense, dark, heavy, which will keep you stuck, or it vibrates really high, light, fast, and get you moving. Thoughts are seeds. Within every single thought seed depending on if you repeat it over and over, the thoughts, the seeds that you plant in your subconscious mind that you get involved with over and over and over will dictate and determine the vibration that your instrument is in. Think about it. What dictates our mood? What dictates our vibe? What dictates how we walk and talk and sit and our energy level? We're unconscious, but it's what is going on in our internal psyche. Studies have proven, look it up. Google Scholar is a really great way to see peer-reviewed journals. 95% of our habits and our thoughts are unconscious. We are just on autopilot. For some of us, that might be good, who have really taken the time to reprogram and really instill great subconscious programming. But most of us aren't. We just learn from the people who raised us, and they've learned from the people who raised them, and so forth and so on. And if we've learned anything from past generations to no fault of their own, they didn't have the luxury of really sitting down and tapping into their consciousness. When we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, basic needs were the thought of the day back in the day. Shelter, food, clothing, basic needs, paying the bills, keeping the lights on, basic needs. And as we get higher on that pyramid, it's enlightenment, it's consciousness, to know yourself, know thyself. That's a luxury, and I'm so grateful for it. My parents, my dad, holy crap, it's laughable. He's now more open-minded, but he didn't sit there and, who am I? What is the me? But let's pay the bills. Let's keep food in these babies' mouths. Let's not get caught by immigration, really, coming over, immigrating to this country in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. How many times he got sent back, but persistence came right back over. He knew the life he wanted. He had a dream. He knew opportunity was here, and he made it through persistence, no matter what happened. There's so many, thank God, funny stories now looking back, but my dad's always had quite a positive disposition. He can either have taken that as being pushed down or discriminated against or tragic, but the stories always with a positive kind of lens or perspective. Very, very interesting way to, look at life. And I think that's where I get it, right? I'm so grateful through that positive lens. That's, I think, why I have that disposition. Because things happen to us. Shit happens. But as Sadhguru says, shit happens to us. And we can take that turd, smelly, stinky, gross, a smelly turd, no matter what it is, a breakup, a loss of a loved one, a disease, a sickness, an illness, a setback, a loss of a job, bankruptcy, whatever the poop is, the turd, an accident. It's a turd. And we can either keep it as a smelly heap of crap and keep it, in our, it's terrible, wincing, eyes watering everywhere we go. Look at my crap. Do you see what happened to me? Smell this. Ugh. Or we can make it really great fertilizer, rich fertilizer and manure, to now take the crap that was put upon us or that we're experiencing and use it as a foundation to grow. It is an opportunity. I talk a lot about this with my clients who have experienced horrendous things. Yeah, it's a big heap of doo-doo. Absolutely. Feel it, grieve it, speak it, acknowledge it, validate it. Now let's turn it into fertilizer, because what you've been through, I haven't been through that. I could never speak about that. I could never start foundations or help people. I haven't experienced that. Yeah, sure, theory, I've read about it, but I don't have the crap you've been given to then turn it into something good. But you might not ever, and it'll always remain crap. But we always have the opportunity to turn it into fertilizer. A lot of great examples are people who lose loved ones. You hear those stories of those young children who are in the hospital. They have leukemia, 3 years old, and they lose their battle. And their parents and their family are just devastated. The biggest tragedy. But then they turn that tragedy and the loss of their loved one, they start a foundation. They start spending more time or donating wings to the hospital so that other children, other families have an easier time navigating through the same struggle. It's so powerful. We can always turn something crappy into something good, and it still won't feel good, but we're already not feeling good. I love this chapter. He goes on to say, if you're following this book, that and the knowledge that it conveys, your first test is persistence. Will come through when you begin to follow the 6 steps of this chapter, unless you are one of the 2 out of every 100. Unless you're that special person who already has it down, then you can just keep on reading, but most of us aren't. The author is checking up on us at this point. We've read all of that. Okay, so the starting point of achievement is desire. We have to have a burning, burning desire. Weak desires bring weak results, just as a small amount of fire makes a small amount of heat. If you find yourself lacking in persistence, that's my alarm, I gotta go. If you find yourself lacking in persistence, this weakness may be remedied by building a stronger fire under your desires. We will stop right there. What is the size of your desire? We are learning a lot from this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Chapter 9, we're going through this week, persistence. I read this chapter for 90 days straight on the recommendation of my mentor, Bob Proctor. He told me, Carla, read this with an accountability partner every single day for 90 days. That all the pages are like, they're marked up. They're withered. I love that chapter. It's in my blood and bones, and reading it now, it just fills me up. It fills me with thought seeds that vibrate very high. And it's reminding me today, going into my week, to remain persistent, to build a very, very strong fire of desire, and that will keep me going no matter what happens out here. And of course, with that, tuning in, am I being willful? But this is something that I came up with this week. I'm working towards a goal. And I was noticing, I was like, am I being pushy? Am I forcing this? Am I being willful? But also the thought came to me, Carla, you'll never know. You just have to do it. You had the desire in your heart. Just do it with full faith and confidence, but let go of the outcome. Who knows what's going to happen? And it was a lesson I learned this summer. I had such a whoosh wind to go after something. And it didn't make all that a lot of sense, but I just had such a strong desire to go after it. And so I did. It didn't end up happening, but something even more amazing happened. And so I have to remind myself, just like with this new goal, I have it. It's been around for a long time, and I really want it. And that's all I need to know. I just have to go for it with full faith and trust, and whatever happens will happen. It might not exactly be that goal, and that's not me having a dream B or a goal B. That is my goal. But remember, it's the feeling. How do I want to feel? Free, happy, excited, new experiences. That's what goal I'm working after. And I will it's my job. It's marching orders. I got the desire. I have to go after it. But there's that part of me that's like, oh, is this right? Are you just being willful? Are you being stubborn? Is this just a materialistic goal? Are you just forcing something that shouldn't? Stop it. I have the desire. I have the goal. My only job is to follow orders. Aye, Captain. I'm going for it. Full blown. Having faith and positive attitude towards it, a positive attitude towards it. Whatever goal you have, whatever dream you have, whatever desire is in your heart, don't question it. Don't wait for validation. Don't wait to see if it's the right thing. Is this what I should do? I'm waiting for a sign. Just do it. If you have a true desire of your heart, go for it. Let all of those voices fall away, internal voices and external voices. Just go for it. If it is good, if it is for your growth, if it is something you truly desire with your heart, go for it. Don't wait for a sign or for the weather or the time or the money to come. Just go for it. more will be revealed. I hope you enjoyed that. See you tomorrow.